We're going to go into our first match of the round of 8 right now. It is Complexity Minigun versus Daisy from ESC. You ready for this?
It is. It's going to be a Protoss versus Protoss kicking it off on Ohana. Now, this is really cool because a lot of people say, this is the North American Star League. Where are all the North Americans? Well, we have one that qualified for the round of 8. He is called Minigun, and he is ready to kick some butt. But he has another foreigner. In fact, he has Daisy, TSO4 qualifier, and it's going to be really tough because PvP. I heard Minigun is good in PvP, but I mean Daisy is really good as well. So it's going to be really tough to say, especially because PvP you can't really say one player will always come out on top. It's a very technical matchup. Rotterdam will argue for days on end about how much he loves PvP. Andre, what are your current thoughts about the matchup right now?
I'm starting to think that it's always going to be the better player walks out on top. It's actually converging to TVT, in my opinion. I know TVT has been a matchup historically that the better player is starting to always walk out on top just because there are so many important decisions to make during the game that if you didn't make all of them right, you are eventually going to lose like the whole advantage. PvP now works where it's like it's really going to question, are you experienced? Do you know your timings? Are you familiar with the map structure? All these things are going to really affect how you're playing out each map. Ohana is going to be the main one of them, and you can see how that's having a direct influence on the initial scouting. Even the probes looking for any potential proxies.
Go ahead and introduce our players before we talk any more about this game. Starting in the top left from Team Complexity, formerly from Team Root, it is Minigun, Chad Jones, which is a phenomenal name and a total bro frat name as well. Chad Jones is like what I expect to be introduced when I'm pledging my freshman year. In the bottom right, we have Daisy from Team ESC, a Korean that's playing on a foreigner team, I believe, right? That's how it works. I mean, do you consider Koreans that join foreigner teams and live in a foreign country, do you consider them kind of foreigners at that point? Like Violet?
Oh gosh, it's hard to say. I don't know.
It's a case-by-case basis. What about Select? Do you consider
Select is a foreigner?
Yeah, I do. So I think it's case-by-case.
Yeah, I think Violet is a foreigner.
What about Daisy? Not yet, maybe? Yes, no?
No. Not yet.
Well, for now, we do see that Daisy's on one gas this entire time. Now, it's interesting because Daisy is scouting. In fact, ooh, he's sending a second probe. Ooh.
Very weird. This is going to be a lot of mind games because he's going to think, oh, I have all the probes cleared out in my base. He's probably going to actually lose this or maybe even just run away. In the meantime, there will be a pylon either sit down over here or maybe even the back corner and the back left over here as well. So an inevitable 4-gate. This is, I like this gas. It's actually to trick his opponent. He should actually just take these off of gas because this is a very costly investment. This was actually put out around, I think around 17 to 18 supply. It was hidden over here to not be seen from this one probe. So really, really cute, clever tricks.
Oh, Minigun doesn't see that probe just tucked away on the cliff. In fact, that is the only place really that Minigun hasn't scouted just yet. Oh, and Mini's going 1-gate robo, so he's going for fast tech instead of any kind of safe 2-gate stalker. And so that's going to be a lot harder to hold, especially since Daisy already has his 3 gates in production.
Most definitely. And I love what we're seeing right here. I mean, a lot of mind games right off the bat. Minigun needs to scout this out if he wants to defend this, though. I mean, that's the fact of it. It's very difficult to actually hold this off when you have Zealots and Stalkers just jamming down your throat and you're trying to get a single Immortal out. The Immortal does constitute a lot, but it's not going to give him a sure win. That's what's the big problem.
Yeah, and so we'll see whether or not this rush is going to be very effective. Minigun is starting a sentry as well, halfway done. So he does have, I mean, he's trying to take the safe route. You can see how safe he's trying to be, but it's just, oh, he keeps missing it just by a couple millimeters at this point. And Minigun's going to be, in for a huge surprise.
He sees it. He sees it.
Does he see it? Oh, he does see it. That's a huge catch here, Andre.
And a warp-in is not going to, yes, it does commence. Wow, that's very bold. Zealots are going to start up here. Zealots are really good, but nice force seal goes down.
Very nice.
And that will buy him time. Immortal is on the way out. The fact of the matter is another warp-in is inbound right now. Warp gate is almost finished for Minigun, but it doesn't really matter. Now, the question is Minigun good enough?
Minigun's supply block, that hurts a lot, but now that he has an Immortal, he can't really start anything else, and Minigun's pulling probes immediately. He realizes that he focused a little bit too much on the micro, needs to be able to get that Immortal to do damage on the Stalkers. Good target firing thus far. A lot of probes are being pulled. In fact, almost every probe except for one has been pulled, so this is pretty much Minigun's last-ditch effort to defend. If he loses too many probes, he'll be in bad shape, but he has killed most of the Zealots, and now this Immortal doing way too much damage, and for now, Minigun will hold. Ooh, a little misplaced force field, but great defense thus far, and Minigun comes ahead. And you know what? Minigun did lose a lot of probes, but he has a huge tech advantage, and that is great news for our North American Protoss.
11 workers killed from that, but look at the Harvester Trap, 21 to 20. That's it. One single probe. And the fact of the matter is, where's the Robo? It's just now started. About 25% of the way done. The Robo for Minigun is, of course, already up. He can go ahead and put pressure on his opponent, knowing that he has this awesome unit called the Immortal that is actually immortal.
It just completely devastated that one Stalker. Now, Minigun's doing an expansion from this point on, which is very good because, I mean, everything from the gas count of Daisy was very limited, his tech is very underdeveloped, even his probe count is very weak considering how much time he's been able to basically capitalize off of it. And so an expansion here is very good, but at the same time, it's really good also from Daisy to expand because he senses that Minigun's being very defensive with his army movement. So good mind games from both.
Very, very good. If you're a Protoss in this situation, you actually want to be pressuring up around this area. You want to constantly be showing you're immortal and that it's active. And what that kind of gives off is this sense of my opponent will be pretty aggressive. And they're going to make moves like try to counterattack or at least waste a couple of units to try to actually intercept the army as they're inbound for an attack, trying to actually do damage into the main and drop all the units back. But if you have a sentry in the, at the top here, force shield it off, trap those units in this area, and then all of a sudden you're able to actually get more return on your, I guess, your investments just by pushing out a little bit.
Yeah. Something important to note is that Daisy managed to kill Minigun's Observer with 3 sentries. It was a little bit of a mismarker there from Minigun, just a couple of seconds of not paying attention to it, and Daisy picked it off. And Observer control is, Observer dominance is very, very key, especially in this stage of the game where neither player are not exactly sure of what they're doing, because neither player has scouted expansions, although they can kind of sense it. You have to get a good sense of probe count, you have to get a good sense of what they have, how many immortals they have as well. And you can see that Daisy at this point is pretty much getting full intel, which is really good. And I think from this point on, he's going to realize that even though he's kind of behind tech-wise, he's not in the worst position possible.
War Prism's coming out here, and look at this. Gravitic Drive has just started researching. So we're going to see some really, really fast War Prisms pretty soon here. I think he actually read that. Daisy read that. So.
Yeah, I mean, he saw a lot of sentries, first of all, and sentries cannot catch War Prisms, especially speed prisms. And if you see that many sentries, and he also saw the Robo, he has the availability of really running tracks around because there's no blink. It's going to be impossible to catch this speed prism. So this is a good attempt by Minigun thus far. We'll see how he's able to micro, though. And Minigun's been a fantastic person with control in his past. That's actually why I love watching his stream. So we'll see how he's able to execute. Does take off 1 Stalker and a Zealot, which is really good trades. Just mortals for nothing. So.
Yep. As soon as that Gravitic Drive finishes, he's able to actually warp in all the way into the back. In the meantime, he is getting Colossus. I love how Minigun is actually doing this. He's able to put on so much pressure and potentially kill, look at this, actually kill a pylon over here, but he can kill probes as well, giving him a further lead in Harvesters.
Nice.
He's only 2 ahead, but still ahead.
And that's really cool because in the end, they both start thermal lands. They're both going to get Colossus count, but Minigun really capitalizing on his tech advantage, and he's able to free up his Robo Bay enough to have this while doing things like harassing, denying gas. He's going to try to drop on the probes again. There's really nothing that Daisy can do about it, and Minigun's doing a fantastic job while balancing this and getting a second robotic, so it's going to really capitalize on everything that Daisy's lacking right now.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, through all that 4-gate action, we're trying to find out where Minigun was ahead and by how much. And now we're realizing that he's ahead by, almost got the sentry. But he's ahead by exactly like an extra Warp Prism. And and gravitic drive.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he's ahead in. Everything else is super similar.
Well, and also he has almost the exact same counts by units, except he has 2 extra Colossi, and he's got 2 more on the way.
That's
so
not bad.
It's going to be insanely advantageous for Minigun when he chooses to battle. But at this point, his Immortals are doing a good job. And again, these pylons are being very annoying, just stalling production and really able to capitalize on that. I mean,
yes.
and he's keeping that Warp Prism alive. So
Again, being supply capped at 92, but relieving that very, very quickly. Colossus count is growing double the rate, of course, for Minigun because he's at double robotics production. In this position, all he has to do is macro and win. That's what it feels like.
Ooh, he's going to try to see if he can pick off a couple of those Stalkers. He just has to target the anti-air, really.
Oh!
Yikes, that hurts a lot. And in fact, Minigun did lose all his Immortals, and Immortals are pretty useful in not team fights, in wide-scale battles.
Oh, they are within the Protoss force.
Yes, within, yeah, it's a team.
It's a team fight.
effort.
You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
It's really useful to tank the initial Colossus damage, especially in low numbers, especially with the Speed Prism. You can kind of use them to really put on some really good damage, force Colossi out of the battle. And so that does sting, but nonetheless, Minigun still has a very decisive Colossus advantage. In fact, he's got more Colossus than any other unit except the Probe. He's got 5 Colossus, 2 Zealots, 3 Stalkers, and a Sentry. So.
And once he actually gets his 3rd base up, he should get his other 2 gases immediately after that. And I think Minigun is in a position where he can just tech up into like High Templars or Dark Templars, start making Archons, and just go with, you know, Zealot, Archon, Immortal, Colossus, or Zealot, Archon, Colossus even. He doesn't even have to get Immortals. He can do whatever he wants. He's so far ahead.
Well, let's see. At this point, upgrade-wise, they're pretty much similar, although Minigun does have that +1 about halfway in his advantage. Minigun did finish his 3rd base, and now it gets to the point where, you know, even though Daisy doesn't have that many Colossus, it's still going to be a little bit hard for Minigun to attack because Daisy can set up really nice flanks, and it comes down to the point where Minigun has to kind of really play this very conservatively because he did have a lead, but he did lose a bit of it. I know you're saying that he's really far ahead, but I would still advise Minigun to be very cautious because, I mean, when you have so many Colossus, it kind of gets really clunky. Especially now that Minigun's going to have 9 Colossus out in the field.
That's true that you mentioned that, because position actually matters so much in PvPs and these endgame fights. I've seen multiple times, actually on IPL, the Team Arena.
Which match are you talking about?
TSA. It was Tasia versus some Protoss. I forgot who it was.
It was first? Yanghua?
Yeah, it was Yanghua. And there was a point where Yanghua had like 5 Colossus.
Yep.
6 Colossus, something like that, and only 2 Colossus were attacking the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's really shows you like how clunky, as you were talking about, these Colossus can be, how much positioning matters, and how you can easily just mess things up if you don't have the right, you know, approach to your attacks.
That's kind of the beauty of a map like Ohana. Even though it is kind of tight in terms of like the actual size, the dimensions of it, there is a lot of flanking area and really cool tactics you can use, especially with the brushes that are really close to each other's 4th bases. So, you know, even though Minigun does have a very convincingly large Colossus army, it's still, I mean, both players will end up being max soon, and it's going to come down to who can micro better.
Yes, sir. If Minigun plays this right, he will have a 2-2 timing to actually hit. As you can see, 185 supply, 2-2 just about 90 seconds away. Of course, with Chrono Boost, he can bring that down to 60 seconds.
Oh, wow, look at this. Actually, Daisy's caught up in the Colossus count very fast, spending Chrono Boost very actively. He's going to have actually the Colossus advantage.
Wow.
10-9.
Surprising. That means there have to be Archon advantages for Minigun. Normally that's what happens.
3-2.
Just 3-2, not that much at this point. It's about to be
Oh, he's got
5.
an insane Zealot advantage, though. He's going to try to use it to really buffer. But, I mean, this is the part where Defender's advantage becomes so massive because you don't have... Look at the concave from Daisy at his natural. It's just... It's so big. It's going to be... It's... Oh, my goodness. It's a barricade.
It might be
of
too much, actually. I'm actually very, very worried for this. Because as you can see, even as you were talking about, that Zealot deficit is going to affect him quite a bit. And we might... Oh, well, this looks beautiful.
This
Holy
is phenomenal. This
dang.
is unbreakable. This is like the gates of Mordor, and you're trying to break them. It's just impossible for Minigun to really get the better concave at this point. The Archons are charging forward, the Zealots absorbing a lot of damage, but with +2 done for Minigun, he does have a decisive damage output at this point, but Daisy has a very good concave. It's going to come down to who can get the good Colossus shots. Oh, Daisy's clumping a lot of his Colossus at the front of his ramp, but Minigun has nothing left to buffer, really. He does have a Warp Prism trying to warp in units, but that's pretty much nothing else. After a huge trade, we see that all the Colossi are still alive, but there's really no supporting units for either player.
+2 just finished up for Minigun. That was a perfect timing, but as we were talking about, the positioning of the Colossus, they were just way too good, and that's why you had that battle. Now it looks like they're going to trade a little bit more, but really not going to make that big of a difference, as Daisy now is going to be the one that just backs up from here. 2 more Colossus out for Daisy, furthering the count. It's going to be 12-10 pretty soon. That is a ton of Colossus for both these players. Think about that. Take all of these, times it by 6, and that's how much supply they take up. 12 times 6, that's 84. 84 supply only going to Colossus. That's crazy.
Andre, there was one Colossus that was actually standing right next to the probe making Daisy's 4th base, and it like ran away, and Daisy was trying to chase it as fast as possible. So I thought that was just kind of funny.
Bit comical.
It was. But also, whoa, look at this. 12 Colossi on the field for Daisy. He likes Colossi a lot, and I mean, it gets to the point where they can actually detriment because they take up too much supply room, and you can't actually fit them in the battle unless they have like this ridiculous flank and they're just kind of charging you without actually attacking. Now, Archons really play a really important in terms of buffering damage as well, especially when it comes to Zealots. You can really burn through them even faster. So now also I'm curious to see when they're going to start incorporating things like a mothership into their army as well, but that'll come a little bit later after they finish all their upgrades and really try to trade a couple armies out.
Correct. I like what we're seeing from Daisy, by the way. Immortals are being mixed into this composition. Minigun is actually going to go with, again, another 200 army. And Daisy, is he ready for it? Look at that, just almost max out immediately. But here we go, the big engagement is going to start right now. Not the best concave for either of these players, but I think Daisy is the one that needs to be super careful. +3 is already finished for Minigun, so this is the biggest timing as Daisy really didn't continue his. And here we go.
Welcome to the laser show. The Archons are buffering a lot of damage for Minigun. A huge warp in for Minigun. That might actually be the huge difference maker. Minigun now has a decisive advantage. And just like that, 100 supply evaporated off the map, Andre.
Oh my.
And the Colossus count for Minigun is staggeringly high. Daisy is down to 77 compared to 157 of Minigun. And that is over double. Daisy is going to be pretty much hard-pressed to defend any expansion from this point. Minigun's playing it safe, does not want to overstep his bound and overextend himself, but I mean, at this point, Daisy is highly outmatched. That engagement was so good for Minigun.
Yes, and Minigun will take the win because of that. There's no way that Daisy can win here. GG gets called out, and Minigun will take the first game in the round of 8.
Yes.
Very well played by him.
I mean, that's kind of the nature of PvP, though. The battles are so fast. I mean, I want to be able to look at it a little bit closer. But that's kind of like what happens because Daisy postured himself to set up their concave, but the warp-ins from Minigun was really good to deny the lower half of the Colossus from doing any damage. At one point, both of their buffers were gone, but Minigun was able to add more damage to Colossus, and just like that, like a huge swipe killed like 3 Colossus and his supply dropped.
The extra warp-in was just so valuable. Yeah. You said it perfectly during the battle, and because of that, he just had that extra layer. Also, he was at slightly higher supply.
Oh my God! What? Actually, +3 didn't even finish for Daisy.
That's another thing as well.
So +3 compared to +2 is pretty good, Andre.
It matters, man. It matters. Anyway, we're gonna go into a short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, game number 2 of Daisy versus Minigun. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Season 4 qualifiers for the NASL Open.